I wanted to bring in Mike Florio, who is not only a lawyer but runs the great website ProFootballTalk.com, and get just some of his quick thoughts here. Why settle now, Mike?
Well, Dan, as of next week, the judge presiding over the case was going to issue a ruling that could have had a huge impact on the case. The NFL was trying to get this lawsuit thrown out of court and sent to an arbitration process under the labor deal, which would have made the cases far less troubling for the NFL, would have pushed it out of the public eye, and would have made the worst-case scenario far better for the NFL than it ever would have been in front of a jury. So there was a legal reason for this thing to settle now. There was a lot of uncertainty as to what the judge was going to do, and that often provides the right atmosphere for two sides to come together and work out their own resolution to a problem.
Is this the end of lawsuits?
Well, I don't think it will be the end of it. First of all of the guys in this lawsuit now can opt out. They can go forward. They can say, we don't want the deal. And the biggest problem I have with this, if one of these guys would come into me and say, okay, what should I do? I can't tell him what he's going to get under this settlement. No one knows what any one player is going to get. You have the right to be evaluated by a couple of doctors, and if you have a real injury, you'll get some money. But when you have to decide whether to take the deal or opt out and continue to sue, you will not know how much you're getting. That makes it very difficult for each and every player individually to say, okay, I'll take this deal. You just don't know what you're going to get.
But if you're trying to prove that, I don't know how you prove this. You get two doctors, they give you an opinion, and then you take it to whom, and then how is that money paid out?
Well, it's going to be two doctors working with administrators who are hired as part of this settlement structure, and the goal is to give the guys money. But the problem is if you give away too much of the money's going to be gone. $675 million is going to be set aside for this fund. Once it's gone, it's gone. There is a provision that the NFL would make one additional payment up to $37.5 million, so it pushes it north of $700 million. That's it. Once that's gone, it's gone. And so you're going to have situations where a guy says, I deserve money. The doctors are going to say, no, you don't. And that's what some of these guys are getting by staying in the settlement. They're just not going to know that when they have to make that critical decision. Do I opt out of this deal and continue with litigation, or do I take the deal? So even though this feels like good news and it feels like closure, there's a long way to go on this, and it doesn't take many guys to opt out for this litigation to continue on.
I'm also looking at it from the NFL's perspective because they knew what they were facing. You got 4,500 former players there. Is this a victory for the NFL?
Oh, absolutely. Let's say that by the time we throw on attorney's fees, which will be paid separately, usually it comes out of the settlement. They're going to pay it on top of the $765. Let's say it's $200 million. Let's say the total payout is $1 billion. That's $31 million and change per team. Now, each of these teams are billion-dollar businesses, and they got billions coming in every year from TV contracts. And this is $31 million paid out over a 20-year period. This is nothing. This is a hiccup for these teams. To take away the possibility of a devastating, open-ended, unlimited jury verdict, which could have been in the billions, to take away years of bad PR for $31 million per team, that's something that some of these owners probably feel like they should be wearing a ski mask this morning after getting a deal like that.
They didn't have to admit guilt.
Well, and you never do. That's the thing. You never admit guilt when you settle a case, especially when you have some of these guys who may decide to opt out and continue to sue you. If you admit guilt, then you lose all those other cases. That's very common. Now some are going, it's a big deal. They're denying any liability. You never admit liability. That's one of the things you get when you settle a lawsuit.
But one more thing. We're talking to Mike Florio from ProFootballTalk.com. Is the lawsuit based on you didn't protect me from myself, you had doctors who misdiagnosed me, doctors who put me back in, or is this just the inherent danger of playing football, and that's going to continue?
Well, there's an entire range of theories that have been put out there, and that's common in litigation. You throw as much as you can against the wall, and you hope something sticks. I think the strongest claims against the NFL deal with what the NFL knew about the dangers of concussions and what the NFL did to cover it up. So there was a period of time where the players didn't know, that there was a period of time when the NFL was subjecting these guys to risks that they didn't completely appreciate. Sure, we all realize it's not a good thing to ram your head into a wall 50 times. But when you understand that there are changes that can happen to the brain, even from minor hits that aren't considered concussions, there could be a window of time in the past where the NFL knew a lot more than the players did, and that could be the real battleground for any of these lawsuits that do go forward if the players do opt out.
Thanks for joining us on short notice, Mike. We appreciate it.
All
Have
right,
a good
see you next
weekend.
week, buddy.
All right, Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.